Hello and welcome to the home of the Ghost Owl, and here we are back for the second episode in our Tomb Kings faction focus for Warhammer The Old World. This is where we're looking at 8th edition army book rules to see how that might influence the rules for Warhammer The Old World, so we can see what the flavour and how a unit plays, and we can expect that unit to have the same flavour and play in a similar fashion in Warhammer The Old World, even though it will have different rules, and of that I'm quite sure. So in this episode we're going to be looking at the Tomb Kings heroes. The first hero we have is a Tomb Prince. Now, Tomb Prince there, he is your lesser Tomb King, so he's got good weapon skill, strength, toughness, leadership low, movement, ballistic skill, initiative, and pretty much the same equipment options. He's got the same mount options. He has the same special rules. So essentially what you're getting is you're getting a Tomb King with one less weapon skill, so weapon skill 5, which he's conferring to his unit, one less strength, wound and attack, and leadership. And you get that for 70 less points. So, you know, a decent character for buffing units, weapon skill. However, it's more common to take a couple of brick units. So, depending on if you're going with these two very large bricks of maybe Tomb Guard, for example, where you'd want really Tomb Kings in those, or if you were going for smaller units, so maybe one brick of Tomb Guard and then a couple of skeleton warriors or whatever, because you're leaning more into cavalry or constructs, then, you know, it depends on if you're going to take a Tomb King or a Tomb Prince. Like, as I said with the Tomb King, you either take a couple of Tomb Kings or you take a Tomb King and a couple of Tomb Princes, and you know, with this being 70 less points, it's you know, a single Tomb King is a little bit cheaper than two Tomb Princes, but the Tomb Princes are buffing two separate units. So, you know, there's a thing there to look at how your army composition is. Low initiative, as with all Tomb Kings, and that starts to become a problem in those enduring combats. So, I'd expect this to be pretty similar in Warhammer The Old World. Essentially, the Tomb Prince being a lesser Tomb King, pretty much the same in most respects. Next up, we have the Tomb Herald, and you can see there they are on the right hand side. They came in a pack with both mounted and on foot, with medium weapon skill, strength, toughness and leadership, and they did have the usual low initiative and also wounds. Equipment wise, pretty similar to that of the Tomb Prince, but you get a spear in there, you get a halberd this time, and the reason you get a halberd is these are basically Tomb Guard heroes, for want of a better term. The big thing with these guys is they can have a battle standard and become the battle standard bearer. Now that's really good because it does mean they get a magic standard, and that can be incredibly useful, but also any unit that's within 12 inches gets one less wound from unstable, and also one less wound from a Hierophant death when you fail at your leadership. You can put them on a chariot or a skeleton steed. Skeleton steeds just weren't that common, so if you were going to see it mounted, he'd be on a chariot or on foot. Pretty much the same rules by and large as the Tomb Prince, including the My Will Be Done, but because he's Tomb Guard, he does get killing blows, so that's 6s to wound, automatically kill regardless of wounds. No save or regeneration allowed, though ward saves can be taken normally. However, this does only work on infantry, cavalry and war beasts. He also has Sworn Bodyguard, so if he is in the same unit as a Tomb King or a Prince, he can intercept wounds caused not in a challenge on a 2+. So, you know, the Tomb Herald was often taken as a battle standard bearer to get access to that magic standard to buff the main Death Star unit. So, you know, you've got that brick of Tomb Guard, you've got your Tomb King in there, and you put the Tomb Herald in there as a battle standard bearer. So he's reducing their wounds taken from unstable, he's buffing the unit with a magic standard, and he's also a bodyguard for the Tomb King. So lots of lots of benefits to having a Tomb Herald, so not uncommon on the tabletop. I think the one downside with him is if you were fighting in a challenge or fighting in combat, he doesn't really have enough attacks to make killing blow a main feature. It was more if you got lucky, you'd get something from it. There we go. That is the Tomb Herald. Next up is the Leash Priest, and this was the newer version of the Leash Priest. And at the end, he came in fine cast, and he did have a number of quality issues, but that is, and also strength issues. You could that sort of halberd that he's carrying there was often bent or easy to snap. So be careful of that one if you're picking them up on eBay or wherever else. Stats wise, same as the Leash High Priest, all low except leadership. Same equipment. He's a level 1 or 2 wizard, and he can take the same laws. Now, if he is taking Law of Nehekara and he is the highest level caster, then he would be the Hierophant. You don't have to be a level 3 or 4 to be the Hierophant. It's the highest level Law of Nehekara wizard. He may be mounted on a skeletal steed, but again, you're not going to do this. Certainly not back in the 8th edition, you were not going to do this. It'll be interesting to see what the meta looks like in the old world. Is it going to force characters to be hiding in units, or are we going to be able to get them out on mounts moving around? Now, if we look at where they said about positioning of characters to get the most benefit of the magic and how important magic is for the Tomb Kings and how important I expect it to be for the Tomb Kings, maybe putting him on a steed where he's going to be a bit more mobile could be the thing. So when we're saying about you hide him in a unit, that's very much 8th edition meta, and it'll be interesting to see how the old world plays out. Often you're going to take at least 1 or 2 to support the Leash High Priest. Magic is key to the army. Every priest you're taking is able to cast spells, and if you're casting Law of Nehekara, you're recovering wounds, which does help durability. Though one of the big issues with the army is it didn't have enough healing to overcome the lack of durability and being so slow, and that's what really impacted them as a force on the table. So yeah, you'd hide them in units. Normally with archers, he is very vulnerable. He's only got 2 wounds, so he can be sniped or challenged. But those archer units, you keep them behind the main line. They keep shooting and he keeps casting. That's the main principle around that. Like I say, it'll be interesting to see in the old world if we start putting some of these heroes now on mounts. Might be a more interesting, particularly casters, but I would still worry about casters being sniped. So is there going to be some type of lookout surfer being close to a unit as opposed to having to attach and bury them in a unit on foot? We shall see. Coming up now to the final hero, that is the Necrotect. So he's got okay strength and toughness, low everything else, so nothing special there. He comes with a hand weapon. His whip that he carries is classed as an additional hand weapon, so he gets an extra attack. And again, he has that light armor, flammable and Nehekar and undead. But he gets some different special rules now. So this guy is really all around maintaining and building constructs, and therefore so he gets hatred. That means he re-rolls misses in the first round of combat. He gets Stone Shaper, so he gives hatred to his unit. Now that's really nice. You give that to a unit and they're re-rolling all their misses. That's really, really good. He also gets Wrath of the Creator, and that basically means animated constructs within 12 inches gain 6+ regeneration. So the decision really on taking this character is very much down to how many animated constructs you've got, because the hatred is okay, but in terms of a unit, you know the Tomb Prince as a combat character and buffing the unit was a little bit better. But if you have enough animated constructs, then you would definitely want one of these guys, if not more. Normally, there's enough to justify at least one in your army, and that because your animated constructs includes your Shabti, it includes the snakes, it includes the scorpion units, and all the monsters were constructs. So that's 6+ regeneration. That's not crazy good, But you think about, if you're a Warhammer 40k player or something, and you're familiar with Feel No Pain, a 6+ Feel No Pain still has value and can be useful. You generally keep the Necrotect as cheap as possible. You're really only there to get the buffs from him, as opposed to making him a combat character or kitting him out with magic items and stuff. Generally he had good value. If you could keep 2 animated constructs in range of him, then it was definitely worth it. So the Necrotect there, quite an interesting character. A little bit different, very specific to the Tomb King's army, and I really hope we see him make a return and have this flavour of someone that buffs and heals the animated constructs that I would expect to appear in a Tomb King's army list in the old world. So I real hope that this type of flavour character remains. And there you go, that is the 4 heroes for the Tomb King's army list. Hope you found it useful for those that have never played with Tomb Kings or come across them before, or for those of you of the old school that played back in the day but forgot how these guys play. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't know, give it a thumbs down. Let me know why in the comments down below. And as always, if you want to see more content, please hit that subscribe button. Totally free for you to do, means a massive amount for me, so thank you for that in advance. You've been watching The Ghost Owl, and I'll see you all very soon.